time to catch up with Kacey D, because we know what Kacey D, where she be. She'd be back from her Orange Fitness Theory, the Minnesota Aurora pull over.
I'm rocking it today.
Wow. Well, now, all right. So is there a connection, or did you think, much like me, it's just cool gear?
It is cool gear, I will say that, but there is a connection. Andrea Yock is a good friend. Okay. Met her along the way through Jamie Watson, who I went to college with. And so, you know how the soccer world is. You just meet people, and met her. My sister lives in Minnesota and her family. So I actually got to tour Minnesota Aurora when I flew up there and got to see Andrea. So definitely an exciting club for sure.
So you went to school with Jamie?
Yeah, we went to Carolina together.
Okay, so all right. So next time Jamie comes on, I have to give him grief about that. All right, that's cool. That's good intel to have.
You should give me grief about that. I was a year older than him in school. That could be a fun triple interview. Well, you never know.
Okay, so that's a bet. So when we can get Jamie to come in on a Tuesday at 9:00 his time, because he lives in Nashville, and he has, I think, he has, I forget if it's a train. I think he has a train that goes through his backyard at points, because you can hear the train whistle. Literally, he'll be out on his lanai out back when he'll be talking to us when he's not inside, and you'll hear a train go by, or you'll hear construction or yard work or something. And so literally, yeah, when we can get Jamie in to do a 3-way dance in this segment, but he's got to come in your segment. We're not going to steer it to where you have to parachute in for one of his. He's got to come in here Tuesday at 10 to talk about
that. And we are Orange Theory buddies / competitors, so we can bring that up too. But It can be fun. So we'll do that one of these days.
Yes, 3-way dance with you and Jamie. So that's very cool. Okay, Dave Leno is going to be seeing San Jose coming to Philly.
Right.
And what we have kind of got with our format here, Allie Curtis from the president of MLS Next Pro joining us at the bottom of the hour. So what we've decided to do this season in our incredibly long executive meetings for this segment is go over the goals that were scored in your match with you and Christian and kind of break down what you saw, because 1, San Jose is heading to Philly. 2, Atlanta's coming home, and so now folks are getting to see Atlanta for the first time this year. Before we get into the goals, overall assessment of what you saw from San Jose and Atlanta on the weekend.
Well, I'll first say I just expected more in general from Atlanta United. I thought it was a really tough performance for them. But a lot of that, too, for San Jose, they started so quickly. There was a lot of attack, a lot of runs forward, good pressing. They just looked way more energetic at the end of the day. And you know me, I can break it down into a million other things, and we probably will here today. But ultimately, from just an energy perspective and an intentionality perspective, San Jose dominated.
Yes, and Madison Cruz and I had pre and post on local radio, and so we were watching all of that for 90 minutes as well. So first moment that we'll get into is obviously goal number 1. And because, when 2 goals are scored, you have to start with the first one. So early on, Preston Judd ends up being the benefactor. We're going to play the call that you and Christian had on Apple TV. So this is courtesy of Apple TV in Major League Soccer.
It's a side that's really trying to stabilize things at the back, like San Jose. This Atlanta United side conceded 63 goals last year. And they've coughed it up once again. It's Jamar Ricketts looking to pounce, pulls it across. Judd! Oh, yes! Seismic for Judd. 2-2.
He's in front of goal. It's a turnover in the buildup. But what I liked from Ricketts was that he didn't even think about dribbling forward. He takes one touch, he goes right away. I'm going to take you on the 1v1. Sanchez not able to catch him, and then it's a delicate ball. That is a very difficult header because there's not a lot of pace on this, but it's textbook as Preston Judd clicks it on, gets it straight down, and almost impossible to save.
You are not kidding with that with Lucas Hoyos. And it starts with Hoyos pressured, trying to play out from inside of his own 6. And as we were looking at it, and like I said, you can correct me and hit me over the head if I'm wrong, but it looked like Hoyos's outlet to Cooper Sanchez had too much on it, and it was too far away from him to get to. And then it was easy for Ricketts to pounce on, and then everyone at that point is chasing. Ricketts with the cross, and it was deflected, and Preston Judd was there for the slam dunk. What did you see?
What happens in that moment of buildup when there's something that goes technically wrong? Because ultimately he had Sanchez as an outlet. He missed it. He absolutely missed it. So when that happens, everyone around you immediately goes into chase mode, and you somewhat forget as a player, you shouldn't, but you do. It's natural. Like, where do I need to be? And you kind of freak out a little bit. Like, I've got to recover. So Sanchez is chasing, but Jamar Ricketts takes one touch, puts his head down, goes right at him to get in the box. Sanchez can't recover. So he goes from an attacking body position to a defending body position. And then two players are drawn out to recover. So then Preston Judd is between the two center backs. So when Mihai gets pulled over into that space, and also Baez, better call, has to come over and get tight to Judd. But that is all happening so incredibly quick. Yeah. And you're in this expansive attacking shape, not thinking that your goalkeeper is not going to be able to execute that pass. So you're just in recovery mode. But credit to San Jose, but it really was about Atlanta United. It all went wrong in a moment of buildup.
Yeah, and at the same time, you are with a back line that, to a certain degree, in the midfield, missing pieces and still trying to get acquainted with each other. Elias Baez as your left back, trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to assist Barakal and Mihai in these situations, just in normal game state, not in, oh my God, I've got to recover state and I've got to rush over and be a part of things. So, match week 2, you're still trying to get acquainted with what the keeper wants to do with the weight of a pass, going back to what we were talking about last week. How's it going to be delivered on this surface? And Hoyos was having problems on the surface at PayPal early on, and it created a lot of early issues for him.
It did. And excuse me, I meant Hernandez, not Baez. So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. Yes. And the thing that Tata Martino said to us, and I think he has said over and over, is that they want to be a build-out team. They want to outpossess teams. But early in the season, you have to figure that out with different units, and there's going to be mistakes. So if you're going to be a build-out team, your recovery from turnovers and counter pressing and how you organize has to be really important until it gets more efficient. But San Jose's defensive shape, they put 2 up on the center backs in their pressing shape. So immediately Hoyos does not have those simple options. So now he has to figure out how to find the outside backs, or he has to have those breaking line passes through the midfield. That's a little bit more scary. And if you're technically off, it's going to set the attack for the other team. That's what happened on this goal. But it also happened, to your point, multiple times because no one was really able to figure out how to get past that pressing shape.
Yeah, and it took putting the thinking cap on to try to figure that out. And also, you don't have Alexei Miranchuk as your point guard because he's still trying to get into 90 minutes fitness. And so you're trying to take your pieces that you have, still be who you are, and going up against the challenges that the opposition knows that they can pounce on you in these certain situations. Am I off here?
No, you're not off. And I was a coach that I love to build out of the back. And so I feel for these moments, because when you're having your players do it, there are going to be mistakes. You hope they don't turn into goals at the professional level. You hope that doesn't happen. But if that is going to be your team profile, you encourage your players to do it. And you say, you can do this. You can get out of this. You can make that extra pass to shift players. It is all about when you do it, though. And there are times, and I even said it once on the broadcast, I think going into the second half, it was almost screaming for just a diagonal ball to turn the backs of the San Jose Earthquakes back line. But that's not the player profiles overall that Atlanta has, especially in that game up top, besides the Latte Lot, who was being forced to come back. So I think that Tata Martino is going to keep pushing them to do this. It's just a matter of what pieces are in there to help them get through the pressure. And San Jose is a quick team.
Yes.
One of the more athletic teams. So it was highlighted, I think.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to get into Tata Martino and what he wants from his club after we play the second goal and talk a little bit about it. Obviously, you're down a goal, you're chasing, and game's going to get stretched a little bit. Some dude that we've heard of came in with about 30 to go. I thought it might be closer to 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Some dude comes in and he turns into that instant catalyst. Goal number 2 for San Jose, courtesy of Apple TV and Major League Soccer.
Honestly, I don't think it's that bad for the San Jose Earthquakes because they have the counter-attacking ability.
And hard charging Timo Werner on that opposite side. Werner! It's in! Buddha time from Timo.
San Jose Earthquakes in attack. That underlapping run from Skane. Look at the awareness to know that the space is behind the back line. Timo Werner takes that quick little look over his shoulder. It looks like he's going to go in the 1v1, but the angle is all for Mihai. He sees that little look out of the left eye there and finds Buddha coming and crashing into the penalty area. Well done on a bouncing ball to run through the back of the net and make sure it goes across the end line.
All right, break this one down for us. For me, it was a transition opportunity because, once again, Atlanta United's chasing. Down the right-hand side, Timo Werner shows why he can be the dangerous individual that he can be. Interesting point that you made about Mihai during the play. Okay, break this one down for me.
We were talking earlier, because just before this, Atlanta was starting to get a little bit of the play, and it was starting to get a little higher up the field with the ball and make San Jose defend, and it was starting to get stretched a little bit more. The game was. And I was, right at the beginning of that call, I was basically saying, usually it's good for the team that's not up to have the game stretched. But for San Jose, who has the pace and the timing of runs in behind, it actually wasn't so bad for them either. And then this goal happened because both Berkal and Mihai were back, but when Skane got the ball, he realized it was a 2v2 at the back. And so he sprung Timo Werner into that outside channel. Timo Werner looked like he could take on in the 1v1, but Mihai had a really nice recovering angle to cut off Timo's ability to go to goal, unless he cut in completely on his left foot. Yeah. But if he had done that with the angle of approach from Mihai, it would have taken him away from the 18 rather than into the 18 to beat Mihai. So I thought this was a really intelligent decision from Werner to just take a look over his shoulder, play the ball behind the back line of the defense, because you put a defender in such a compromising situation because they're facing their own goal. So they either have to let it go or they take the chance of having an own goal when they try to clear it. And Buddha was the recipient of that. So there was a lot in this goal that I really liked. And it was in the context of what was happening tactically as well.
All right. So with Atlanta United getting to come back home, taking on RSL, what had and I know this is literally just looking at 90 minutes and all the game tape that you've stared at, what have you seen from Atlanta United so far in the match and the highlights that you've seen? What are your takeaways right now from Atlanta United in 2026?
The thing that stands out to me, and this really isn't a surprise, is when Moranchuk comes in, they've been better. And I don't, sometimes when you bring someone in, and I know he's not at his 90 minutes, but when you bring someone in late in games, the game's a little more open, or they've been able to watch and find spaces so it can be a different type of role. But with him coming in and the other substitutes, I just felt like there was a little bit more control of the game. I made a note of this in the game that when Jakob went to right back, they got him extremely high, and they stayed with the other three a little bit lower. And then Moranchuk was able to go centrally. So they're created like this 4v3 in midfield and then Almiron and Latelat were operating more up top. It just seemed like they made it a little bit harder on San Jose when they had the ability to have Moranchuk on the ball and Almiron. I just think it feels like the midfield, not midfielders. I want to make that clear. The middle third of the field, they need to control that a little bit more. And having the personnel to get on the ball, I think he helped that in that game.
And you know, to me, what I like in that too, when you send one of your outside backs forward, it's like you're taking the dial on an old radio, it's like the old stereo receiver, and you kind of turn the dial like one notch. That means that everything rotates that one way. So your left back and your center backs go back and help out that space that's taken up by the right back or whatever back is going forward. Everyone rotates that one place over. And since you have 2 sixes, one of them can help out and the other goes into attack. And so that's where your cover comes from. If you end up with someone like double nickel 55 going forward to help things out offensively. And that's the best way that I can describe what I think is happening in that kind of a moment. Am I off?
No, you're not off. I think there's a lot of positives. Another positive on top of that is that it's risk versus reward. So the way I look at this is if you have a higher starting position in your attack, if you do lose the ball, your distances are closer to win it back and you're pressing higher up the field. So I always say this because I'm an NFL American football fan as well. It's like it's about gaining territory sometimes. Sometimes you just need to get everyone higher up the field. And if you look at the flip side of it, DeJuan Jones and Benji Kikanovich for San Jose, they risked. They flew forward, they pressed, and they reaped the benefits of that. Atlanta did start to do that in the second half more, even with Hernandez still in there. But it's just hard because they kept getting caught between, do I go to DeJuan Jones or do I stay with Jamar Ricketts? And that's the hard part. But for Atlanta United, the second half, I think that was one of the positives, was getting Jakob a little bit higher to allow for that.
One of the tenets that Tata Martino has talked about going into this season, and he may have divulged it when you had your pregame talk, is the idea of basically playing bravely. And he wants everything to be forward. I want you to be aggressive. I want you to be the protagonista, which may have come up in your conference call, that particular word. When you're a protagonista, what he is looking for is that push. He wants you to be aggressive. He wanted Cooper Sanchez after match day 1 against FC Cincinnati. Look, you did great, but I need you to go forward and be more aggressive in that. And if you make mistakes, I want you to make mistakes going forward and being aggressive, like you talk about flipping the field and, being an American football fan. It's almost like, punting to flip the field for field position kind of a thing. So when you're being brave and you're pushing forward, how difficult is that mentally when your default at times is you're afraid to screw up? You don't want to make a mistake because you don't want to get deeper into a hole. How difficult is navigating that whole idea of, I want you to play bravely, I want you to be aggressive, but your default says, okay, I don't want to make things worse. How difficult is that to manage?
It can be hard. I think it depends on personality, natural personality, whether you have fresh starts and you think if I just keep the ball and don't make a lot of mistakes, like I'll stay in this starting 11, or actually that can work against you sometimes because there's not as much impact. And it depends on the position you're playing. Mm-hmm. I think trust is huge with managers and players as well. So as managers and coaches are telling you, you can play forward, you can make mistakes, then they have to know that mistakes could happen. And then you have to trust that you're not going to be pulled. But also you've got to have the pressure of performing. So there's so many nuances of that play into your head mentally as a player. But I do think one thing Tata Martino said to us is that having a build-up style of play takes patience, it takes repetition, and it takes time. And he's right. It's not going to be perfect right away. But if he can instill the confidence in the players to break lines, to not only keep it, but look to be dangerous in keeping it, then it's ideal for players because you feel this freedom to do so. Right now, we're just not seeing that necessarily happen. I do have to say this, though. Hoyos obviously gave up that ball for the goal. Mm-hmm. It can't happen. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to say this. The amount of attackers that were above the ball versus the amount of defenders that were there, that goal should not have happened, in my opinion. You still had your 4 backs that were able to recover in, and you had Cooper Sanchez falling with 1 attacking player in the box in Preston Judd, who was wide open. So, yes, a lot does go on Hoyos in this build-up play, and you have to connect those passes, but you also have to know how to recover if there are human mistakes that happen. And I think that was a team thing also that needed to be addressed.
Yeah, and so right now Atlanta United waiting for RSL and a bunch of youngins to come in on the weekend, taking care of business against Seattle. Do you know where you are going to be next week?
I do. I have St. Louis, Seattle, and I will be in St. Louis for that game. So I have never been to Energizer Park, so I'm very excited about that, and will be a good matchup. They both came off losses, so I assume a hungry matchup between these two teams.
Okay. With St. Louis City, I feel like you have to say city, in all caps. You've got a team that doesn't have one of their main guns. Joao Klaus was traded for intra-league dollars to LAG, and you're kind of wondering where the offense is going to come from St. For St. Louis. Is probably for St. Louis as opposed to two froms. Shows you how much caffeine I've had this morning. And Seattle coming off of a loss to RSL 15 years in a row that they have lost at Rio Tinto, which is crazy for me to think about. So you have a team that likes to clamp things down defensively and a team that when healthy has firepower that's there. You don't know what Jordan Morris's status is, probably another couple of weeks. And so you've got these contrasting ideas that you get to be a part of coming up on the weekend. What else struck with you from this past weekend in Major League Soccer coming forward before your visit to St. Louis?
Well, you said it right there. I love contrasting ideas because that means tactically I can just get after it. So I'm excited about that. Hartle was missing versus San Diego for St. Louis City, which was a big loss on the attacking side because, to your point, their attack is a little bit different, and it was hard for them against San Diego. They pressed well, but San Diego just looked so sharp. Mm-hmm. Their build-up play, we know, is incredibly efficient. So that was a difficult task. And I was a little surprised by Seattle losing to RSL. They looked like they were flying in week one, even with the Morris injury and him going out with Rothrock, coming into the game. Oh, I got to get that off the top.
Rothrock. Take your time with it. Paul Rothrock.
Oh, goodness. I've called their games before, too, and it was fine. So we'll see what happens this weekend. So I think that will be a fun matchup. I like the way Yohan Damet has St. Louis City organized. I think they look like they're organized well in the press. Where are the goals going to come from? Betcher is industrious. I like him. And I think the partnership with Hartle it's better when he's on the field with Betcher. So I think that's a big thing as well for St. Louis City. Man, this last weekend was fun. I got to watch a lot of games. I was sitting in the hotel. I was on long flights. I can't not mention Orlando City and Miami because it was so fun. I was on the plane, throwing my hands in the air, every time a goal happened. I think people thought I was having problems. I was not having problems. I was excited about just all the goals were really nice. I mean, there were two that were probably savable, one for each, but overall, it was an entertaining game and a little spice from Messi as well. You don't see that very often.
Well, yeah, but when you step on Superman's cape, you're going to get that kind of stuff. It's hey, you want an autograph now?
I am. Everyone that knows me is I'm kind of quiet with that stuff. I'm not a big instigator type, but I was loving that. I actually loved it, and not because it was Messi. I don't think maybe. But he just never does that. And so with everything going on, a rivalry game, I was getting into it for sure.
All right. What I will do is I will send you some how much time are you going to have before the match in St. Louis to kind of sample and see what's going on?
A decent amount. I think I get in at 4:35 p.m. on Friday, and our game's not till 7:30 Central on Saturday. So I've got a lot of Saturday, but I'm out quick on Sunday.
Okay, so what I'll do is I will send you intel about places to eat because there's a lot to do and there's a lot of different nationalities that you can sample. I will send you some history about where Energizer Park is. I will send you stuff on food because St. Louis is a true food diaspora, and I went ahead and broke out that word.
I love that word, and I would love that because I have not been to St. Louis in I don't know how long, so I am not aware at all.
All right. Well, I will send you all of our Cliff's notes when it comes to going to eat and everything there. As always, KCD, it's great to see you. Have a great call. Be safe. Enjoy St. Louis City and Seattle. And thanks for the intel on Atlanta United, especially out of the blocks at 0-2. We will catch up with you again next week. Great to see you, my friend.
Sounds great. Good to see you.